All right, good evening, everyone. We have quorum, so we're going to start the meeting at 6:34. Starting with the agenda, there's one addendum to this. We have two letters of support from Columbia Renters Union. Tenants Union. For new business discussion. Other than that, do we have any other amendments? All right, hearing none. Do we want to adopt the agenda? Is there a motion? No, you gotta make a motion.
Oh, sure.
Do we have that?
Second.
Yeah. All right. We also have April minutes. I have no revisions. Do we have any discussion? Do we want to adopt? Do I have a motion?
You guys know through the whole way. Bring to that, April 36 minutes.
Perfect. All right. All those in favor, we're good? All right, unanimous consent. We need walls, right? Awesome. So again, good evening, everyone. We'll start with introductions. My name is Mateen Sarsi. I'm a co-chair of the Housing, Land Use and Zoning Committee.
And I'm David Ratner, the other co-chair of the committee.
Awesome. We're joined by by both public and committee members, starting with Alana.
Alana,
Yeah.
so I'm a member of this committee and Arts and Social, and yeah, anyway, yeah.
Awesome.
Hi.
Passing the ball to Juan.
Hi. Mongo Benares, I'm a high school teacher, Mayfield Granville High School. I lived in Harlem since 1993. And that's pretty much everything I've done in my adult life. Thank you. Who goes next?
How's your Abraham? And I'm on the board of two committees, landmark preservation of parks, as well as housing land use zoning. Down the block. Everybody agree?
Right on. Awesome. All right.
We have some CE9 members. So Victor.
Vic Edwards, Chair of Committee Board 9. Lived in the community for the last 45 years, been on the board for the past 13 years.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael, with the Economic Development Committee. Also here regarding two letters of support, and I guess we have time to provide some MHCC updates as well.
Awesome. We're also joined by some members online. Barry, I'll pass it to you.
Got
We also have Heather Jason. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us. Moving on to announcements and updates. I'll start with 1727 Amsterdam. Last month, HPD held a hearing on April 15th. And this was specifically to discuss the land disposition agreement. Essentially, because this land disposition agreement was drafted back in 2018, this kind of gives some sort of final comment period about updating said land use agreement, but only within the parameters of the things that are open for change, which could be certain requirements, it could be certain things that were originally introduced in the LDA that should apply now. A lot of members showed up to the hearing, a lot of folks spoke.
Can you just define LDA for everyone?
Yes, land disposition agreement. These are the terms of what gave the project its opening to move forward into the process. So we won't know when we won't have, we won't know when the LDA is published until it actually appears on Acris. And so, as that project moves forward and milestones get captured, that land use disposition agreement will be posted on Acris. And so once it does, I know we'll be keeping an eye on it just to make sure, just to see what changes that might have been applied from the hearing, if any were made. And then keeping that agreement on file so that we could hold the folks who will be managing that property and the facilities in the future and hold them accountable as much as we possibly can. That's about as much of an update I have on 1727. And I'll.
Okay, Therese is here, so,
Hi.
Teresa, do you just want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. I got a little-
No,
I
you're
met in the
actually,
Family, my deacons from my church, he's my deacon, he passed away Monday.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much for joining us. Yeah, so that's all I have for 1727. David, do you want to take on
620, not a great deal to report. The last meeting, I think the sense of the committee was that we should try and pursue getting the borough president's office involved. Subsequent to that, and I think in large part thanks to Barry Weinberg, I was put in touch with Niles Robinson, who I believe is the community liaison to MCB9. And I provided Niles with all of the various documents that we had prepared on this issue. He said that there was going to be a meeting, I believe, in fact, it was supposed to be last week, which this case was going to be discussed at the borough president's office. I have not heard from Niles what the results of that conversation were. I sent him an email, I think Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And I haven't heard back from them. They are, according to Niles, they are at least discussing the idea of bringing an Article 78. In terms of where the Board of Standard and Appeals is at this moment, they took a vote on the reopened application on the 27th of April, and not surprisingly, they voted not to change the previous decision. I was told that within 2 weeks of that decision, so that means in the next few days, they will prepare a formal resolution denying granting the application. And that will then in turn trigger the 30-day period during which an Article 78 can be brought. And to reiterate what I've said at past meetings, unfortunately, Community Board 9 does not have standing to bring an Article 78 challenge. And the borough president's office has standing, city planning commission has standing, but not the community board.
Who else does? Does the applicant?
Well,
The
the applicant has standing, but he's winning, so he has no incentive. I mean, he wouldn't challenge it. It's only people who disagree with the granting of the variance, who would bring an Article 78 proceeding.
And the only people we know who disagree are the Manhattan Board President?
Well, it's not clear what the Manhattan Borough President's position is on this. We're asking them to review it and see if they would be willing, if they agree with our position, if they would be willing to bring an Article 78. I asked City Planning Commission to do the same thing. They don't seem interested. I mean, a community member, not community board, but a community member who is affected by this development, and I'm not even clear in my mind what that means, could theoretically bring an Article 78, but the
Palante?
I'm sorry.
Palante be? Agree?
You do like a concerned tenants of 620.
Yeah, but they'd have to show that they
So
had,
you'd have to organize.
they'd have to show that they were affected by the decision. I mean, that you can't just, not everybody can get standing to bring these. So a neighbor, for example,
Of the building.
would probably have standing. But again, the problem is money. It's an expensive process. You have to hire an attorney. I don't think that it's likely that members of the community are in a position to, to really take up the fight, as it were. So that's where things stand. There is a small ember of hope still.
The borough president, you did that?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So I can follow up on that as well. I mentioned it at the borough board meeting with the other chairs. And said they would look into it, but
Yeah, I mean, I
I'll get to see him directly next week.
okay, I appreciate that. Thanks.
We haven't heard from any residents of adjoining buildings regarding their dissatisfaction with the loss of light, air, space, or anything like that. That would be the only.
I think before Martina and I took over, I understand there were members of the community who made inquiries. Either to the committee or community board, but I haven't heard from anybody.
We'll follow up with borough president.
Great.
In that first section,
Yeah.
I would think finding an agreed parties would be that challenging, as long as we've got either a counselor or a team of, attorneys that are willing to take this on pro bono. Do we have any indication as to whether that's an option at this point?
Well, that was something that I was looking into, and I must have made about 10 or 15 calls. I don't know if it's recorded in any of our minutes, but I gave a report the last month of the month before as to the efforts that I made, and this is a hard because not only did the developer big mistake, and I'm not being generous in saying, but the Department of Buildings also did so, and they issued the permit. So this is not the situation where a developer built something that not only violated the law, but violated the permit that was issued by the Department of Buildings, which is more usual case, and the case is clearer, cleaner, and easy to package in a soundbite. This one has a lot of subtleties to it. So I think that, pro bono attorneys who are, looking make big impact. Big impact cases that,
Don't have any serious nuance to do.
yeah, don't wanna have nuance in the case, they wanna be able to have a slam dunk, exactly. Um, so, glad you're here.
Are we on the 620 already?
Yeah, we're in 620,
What were the updates, if any, about 7-27?
Yeah, so the main one there was talking about the hearing.
Okay, okay.
So with the land use, with the land disposition agreement. At this point, we have to wait for the project to start moving through. They're gonna eventually post this on Acris, on the Department of Finance website. So once that posts up there, we'll be able to kind of look at that LDA. See if any of our comments from the HPD hearing even made it, and that's how we're gonna know if we had any sort of effect on it. But on our end, it's gonna be good because we'll be able to pull it out, keep a file on it, depending on what's on the LDA. And knowing that now that they're in the community, once they do start trying to immerse themselves, we'll definitely use that as some sort of, we're gonna hold them to it,
Yeah.
you know, whatever is in there. Depending, you know, once it is there, but one of the nice things that I kind of got from HPD on this was being able to understand a little bit about how they even create the template for the LDA. So that when looking at future projects, we can see exactly where we can influence what we put in. And then we'll have a much better idea of what we're even commenting on, because that was part of the thing. So we have some of those things in place. Which you got, like, we got knowing that we're gonna be fast tracked and things are happening in the housing world. We're gonna need all the tools we can get.
Yeah, just to be clear, the LDA is really the devil's details is. In the scheme, it is the regulatory agreement or the regulations that are going to affect how this. How the supportive housing is gonna work, how this project is, who's gonna run it, how's it gonna be run, so on and so forth.
Are there any more hearings for some people points out?
Yeah, at this point, the mayor has to sign off, I mean, that's about it.
In that, so. Did you, I don't know if everyone saw, there was a sort of LTA, blanket LTA, that's it, sort of boilerplate, that's it, it's circulated. And I believe it was supposed to be appraisal also, but I never saw an appraisal, the appraised value of the land on the documents.
Yeah, it's probably on purpose, because they would have to update it upon closing. So like they couldn't use whatever happened in 2018. With the exception of certain things,
Yeah.
to then apply it here. But they're most likely upon closing, we're gonna see all those numbers updated. But yeah, it gives us at least a better sense of. Whenever they decide to do any kind of future RFPs, like even before they release a project, I think ideally what we wanna do is try to hop on those meetings, cause if we could hop on before they even make decisions. Then it gives us a better chance of scoping out who they're looking at as a developer, what sort of like parameters they're putting in place. And it'll save us that much more of a headache from, you know, fighting the future process, depending on.
Yeah, I guess in reference to this, the many announcements coming out of Bushwick, or Bedford Stuyvesant, one of them is that they're working with a community selected, a community group that has pre-selected a group of developers. So, you know, that might be something to prepare also, I think. For many reasons, Bedford Stuyvesant is in the news, a lot these days, but I think, you know, sort of anticipatory moves like that are ways for, that at least this administration is showing themselves interested, right?
Yeah, so, but definitely something to keep an eye out for sure. One of the interesting things, it's not on here, but I'll put it. only just because it just came out today, is the mayor released his executive budget plan. It's a very interesting budget plan because overall it acknowledges the $5 billion gap that Adams left over. It seems like the state is gonna bail us out $4 billion in different things here or there. You got $500 million that is going through the peer to what do you call it, owning the second home tax. And then the rest of it was like cost savings that the city already identified, so like, it's a very interesting plan in that sense. Apparently, a good chunk of that is gonna go specifically towards housing. I think 5.5 billion is gonna be for NYCHA for the next 5 years. And then the rest is supposed to be different HPD initiatives. Which is why I'm starting to assume like why we got a whole bunch of approvals like in our housing budget this year. I'm guessing a lot of it is in relation to this, so there might be a lot of good things coming our way. NYCHA I'm a little bit more skeptical about for a lot of reasons, but that's a different story. On the topic of NYCHA, because I don't see anybody from Department of City Planning. In terms of NYCHA, we were supposed to come last month. They did not, so we reached out again. We are double confirming this time they're coming to the June meeting. In this case, we're asking them to talk about the capital needs for grant houses. The status of Red Pact at the three other NYCHA developments, Audubon, Manhattanville Rehabs, and Manhattanville. And then the last is to introduce the neighborhood service coordinator, which is like a new position that NYCHA created specifically to help resident leaders and kind of like a community liaison of sorts to connect what's happening with the association with the greater community. So just trying to understand how that community service coordinator works. And then knowing that we have that CBA agreement with Columbia, the idea is to hopefully create a partnership there, and we could perhaps find some sort of way to both benefit the association as well as the greater community. Just to see if, just to see what this particular coordinator does, because it seems like the idea behind it seems, is that because they're boots on the ground, this person currently sits over at grant houses at the management office. And the idea is that this person, by covering different NYCHA developments in a cluster, that having boots on the ground gives them a better idea of what's happening in the community, what's happening for resident leaders on their operations, and then of course, like the greater engagement with.
Will they give a fair assessment to, letting us know what's transpiring? He said they'll be right there in the management office.
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? Cause it's too close to comfort, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Because coming out of that office, we don't get too much of anything, because we're living there in our truths and we're seeing what's transpiring. You know what I mean? So them being there, would we have access to that person?
Yeah, they're technically under property management, but they're not they're not supervised by property management. It's very weird.
Well, they'll be presenting next week on that very question.
Okay.
So you'll be able to ask a lot of questions
Exactly.
next week.
Did you hear that, Shirley? Yeah.
At the general purpose or something, or?
No, here,
Next month,
next one.
I'm here.
right,
Okay.
next month.
Yeah, so they did the favor of sharing a contact list, not all that was up to date. Mostly because I think out of the four developments, Audubon is the only one I have no idea who's on their board. I don't know if they had a board. It seems like they do. So it'll be interesting to get in touch with them and see what they're facing in Audubon. Only because I'm very less familiar with that. It's a standalone building.
And I remember when I first came on board, when we were trying to find out, you had said there was money allocated for Manhattanville and Grant. And Well, if it had indicated it wasn't for repairs, it was for programs, it
programs,
indicated then there were no programs. So that's another thing that we need to find out, where's that money going? So that money could be allocated to cameras around the, the whole complex. That would be feasible if the money's there and it's not being utilized.
Yeah,
Not the Columbia money.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, I don't, well, we can add, I don't think
Right.
cameras would come under that.
No,
We'll
I'm just saying, if the program is, there's no programs in existence, actually, there are none, because they're not.
That's up to your tenant association.
And yes, and
Right.
I'm trying to get a meeting with her because we're trying to get a active tenant patrol in my building because they fell short. The ball has fallen short, so it's time for us to have a meeting with the tenant association president because I got information from Michael Lasse's office that we have any doors to, and the doors are gonna be locked. If you have that tenant patrol, then the doors would be just succumb to being unlocked again.
yeah.
So this is why I'm asking for a meeting with the tenant association. I got Marcelli from WEAC, helping me out with that as well. So we wanna have a sit down meeting, you can't pass keys on, cause they say, oh, we're gonna pass the keys on, you can't pass the keys on, you have to let people into the. Well,
Yeah.
so we can be accountable for who's sitting downstairs in the temperature patrol because it has to be act.
Yeah,
Right now, we have a fire safety individual in the building and she's sitting there and the door's wide open. Anything can happen to her
right,
at
right.
this point. So, yeah,
Yeah, and
our environment is essential.
yeah,
Safety.
and I think for us, it'll be helpful to know the restrictions of the
Right.
funding, only because on the association side, they'll typically have multiple funding streams, like they'll have federal grant funding specific for tenant participation activities. City council member might provide funding, and if you're in Brooklyn, you're also getting borough president funds. Because resident associations have been finding out that, the Brooklyn VP gave money to their associations. Now you're having associations throughout the city asking their borough presidents, like, hey, you should be giving us money too. So hopefully that grows out that portfolio. But I know that there's like restrictions with TPA that sometimes associations will use the city council, the like city funding to kind of cover, because I can perhaps get tickets to a cultural museum. But if I want busing to send them there, I can't use federal funding.
Right.
I'd have to use the councilmatic funds. So they're like just knowing what the restrictions are and how the association might be able to play with that money to either grow what they're currently doing or bringing in something new. It's definitely gonna help us with the next steps on that sense.
See, question for you, community coordinator that you mentioned, was in Graham, do they also oversee Manhattanville, or
Yeah.
even though it's under the PAC program?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if the level of engagement is the same, but I know they cover the same areas, yeah.
Good to know.
So that'll be a good question too,
Yeah.
when they come. That's all I got on the authority.
Okay, so Sabrina here?
Pine tree.
Oh, you're on, she's on her way, okay,
She's on her way, but I don't wanna hold up your.
okay, that's fine, we slotted you in for 7:15.
Yeah,
So that's.
okay.
Yeah, so in that case, do we want to start with?
Yeah.
the clock?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
So we have two letters of support from the Columbia Tenants Union. The first letter.
And they're all, for anybody who wants to look at them, they're over on the tape. Actually, Brad, we can also use them.
Yeah, the first letter is a letter to Barnard. Barnard Building, that I think you guys like, you're talking about before, it's 620 West 116th Street. It's a building that has been cooking gas for almost a year. We've been advocating for abatement or some kind of program where students who have lived there the whole year, get either rental assistance or get some of their money back. So that first letter is just regarding that building, just regarding fund.
But didn't we do a letter of support on this?
We did a letter of support for the Columbia Tenants Union about 9 months ago. something like that.
There's more constituent.
This is,
Yeah, I remember one of them was this.
it included, so what we passed was a resolution in support of the Columbia Tenants Union that listed a ton of different issues, including the issue in this building. Then there's, yeah, so these are just sort of specific issue-oriented letters to support. The second letter is to Columbia, and it's regarding, another building, 542 West 112th Street, the grad student building. All the students are being relocated, at the end of May, and, you get no other choice. Basically, they want to put undergrads in that building, is our understanding, and, we just want to make sure that Columbia is giving those grad students, a lot of them have families, a lot of them have like financial commitments to being within that neighborhood, and have the expectation that they would remain in the neighborhood. Just want to make sure Columbia is giving them housing within the portfolio that's a comparable price, has comparable amenities, and won't sort of force them out of the other handful of issues, there's our push to make sure Columbia makes 4 more of its vacant units available to the community. So Columbia's committed to making 4 available. Folks are planning on moving into those units in the next few months. But we just want them to follow through on the commitment to make 4 more available. And then 2 more things. There's also there are about like 300 or so units in Morningside Heights and within Columbia buildings that are owned by, not owned, but are occupied by folks who are not affiliated with the university. And our understanding has always been that they live in rent stabilized apartments. We've been given somewhat of a reason to believe that some of the tenants might be paying market rate. So we just want to follow through with that with Columbia and make sure that all of the folks who live in not affiliated units are paying or are part of a rent stabilized unit.
Has anybody checked with THCR?
We've had everybody check with THCR, like.
And what are those references indicate?
A few of them have not gotten back to us, so. We had a conversation with one tenant who we asked to make a request with THCR. We didn't get a chance to look at their lease. And we'll find out hopefully within the next few weeks whether or not she has a rent stabilized unit. Every indicator that I've looked at says that she should be in a rent stabilized unit, and she, again, I didn't look at her lease, but she says that she's not paying.
Because I mean, I haven't looked at the code lately, but there are code provisions on this, there's case law. And the one thing I do know is that no matter what Columbia says, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I
mean, case law on it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear what you need to do to be a rent stabilized unit.
Right.
At least to me, and to build 6 or 4 units, it's
right, but there has
before the.
Right, but there is something about university owned accommodation. I don't remember what it said. But my only point being that,
And I mean, there's a lot of case law too on units that were built before the date that regularized units typically are. 6 more units, but those units were used for non-housing related things. And then were converted back, being used for housing, for housing.
You mean affiliated or non-affiliated?
So I guess that's what I'm getting at,
Yeah.
So like, there's case law even that if something was built for the purpose of not being used as housing or being used for student housing in this case, and then was converted back to being non-student housing, would still have to be stabilized, yeah.
Okay.
Michael, quick question. The 4 apartments that were released and put into a lottery system, do we know what the status of those are?
Yeah, I just got a status update. I just spoke to someone who said that folks are moving in.
Oh, good, okay.
You know someone that is moving to one of the apartments? if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
When my students graduated in 2009, 10. She has a beautiful baby. And she works with pre-K. She's a director. And she won the lottery.
Oh, great.
And I was telling you that how do you know you're doing something great? People look at you and they say, how is this real? When you send them the information for these apartments. So a lot of people are thankful for what you do. And these letters are disgusting. Like you have to ask an entity like Columbia to take care of people. They're a corporation, they're not a school system. They don't even respect the human beings who work and live in their community. They are not a community. They are a money-making business. That's what they.
So, yeah, like we talked about, Columbia committed to making Florida more available this summer.
Great.
Just want to follow.
Does anybody have any other questions about this letter of support?
I think the only question I have is, given the requests, a lot of these seem like constituent issues. Why not a joint letter?
Oh, so we have to send one to Barnard and someone to Columbia.
Oh, no,
Barnard's not a
no.
little.
Oh, no, no, I mean a joint letter from stakeholders, like not just me, like in some letters, like you'll have multiple entities, like you might have the community board, you might have like an organizing group, like you might have even electeds and stuff like that.
That's a good point. And to be fair, when we send these letters, we often CC elected officials, and we've spoken to some elected officials. Not necessarily about 620 West 106th Street, and not necessarily about 542 West 112th Street, but about the program of the 4 vacant apartments and some of the other just general Columbia as a landlord issues. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that could carry a lot of weight. You're totally right.
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, I would say just only because like the issues that I'm seeing here are very like constituent focused, like. I like the body of the letters, I would probably just seek to add on more focus.
In this case, it's unfortunate because we and I finished exams this week. And so we sort of put this, I mean, yeah, the folks that are on this tenant union kind of put this together with short notice. I'm not sure we could have gotten signatures in time for general board and for the so they said they will be needed as an introduction. So that's where I was now. But that's definitely something you want to do. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, but this isn't like, because it's very caseload based, would this need a community board?
Be better with it.
Yes.
And at this late date, I don't know if we can get any electeds that we could try.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
City council member or somebody.
Okay.
Cordell Clear, she's really welcoming to issues like these, and especially you don't even have gas to cook, and that is disturbing. I think she will listen to this.
Yeah,
He's very supportive.
yeah.
When we have the contact who comes to a community board, you have this info.
Sorry.
There's a contact person who comes to a community board.
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
You have this info.
Lucas.
Lucas isn't with Cordell Clear
No, right.
anymore.
No, Sam.
Unfortunately, yeah. Oh, I think
I have them in
You
person.
have any? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think she'd be willing to sign on.
Yeah. On the gas outage, do we know what's the holdup on Columbia's end? Have they not said anything?
So, we got some like unverified reports that they were installing, new ovens this summer. Basically a student took a picture of a truck right outside of the building with a bunch of ovens. They seemed to be carrying them to the building. But I spoke to the doorman at that building, and I spoke to a bunch of students, and they know nothing about new ovens coming in. So it's probable that the new tenants will have ovens. But it's also hard to know. There's also another building on that same block that we're just, all the tenants within it were just told, that they wouldn't have cooking gas either for some time. And that's a non-Barnard building, it's Columbia.
Is it because the gas line itself has to be replaced or anything
Yeah,
like that? or-
yeah, it's just like,
Okay.
So the students who are in there, would they normally not be in there during the summer anyway? I mean, or the students who?
they're also Barnard, they're all Barnard undergrad students. And typically, someone else will live in those buildings, that's just doing like.
But they're
summer
not
work.
people who are, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand this doesn't have to do with displacement, but they're not being displaced at this point. Was that?
No,
correct?
no, so their leases end May 31st.
Okay.
I think with undergrads, no one really lives in the same building for 2 years.
Right, right.
So they probably won't be the same tenants in that building.
And we know if they were given any additional vouchers to Bears with John Jay or anything.
Nothing, so they were told, they can either buy their own hot plate or they can enroll in a meal plan. That's more expensive.
Even night jazz, the
Yeah.
It's so, yeah.
might not be a good hot plate, I think it's.
Some of the cities like work like.
You're right,
We should get to it, but I mean, there was really
Topic.
bad landlords in New York City. No, wow.
Yeah.
There are buildings in East Harlem, in this, like, near this district. That have the exact same situation that we're describing, their landlords give them hot plates.
Yeah.
Like Victor said,
Or
if
rent
you like
funds.
to use a hot
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
somebody
Or
will-
like rent abatements that are
Well-
like 3 to 5% of monthly rent or something.
But it's just from a practical standpoint, even if Columbia doesn't want to issue out that, there's very simple fixes. They could just roll these things that are affected by that into the meal plans for the entire semester.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah,
That's the cheap solution for that.
It's like-
right.
Covers-
So you're making too much sense. Too much sense.
Exactly. That's true.
That's the problem.
So why don't we,
Life when the man's not manly.
so can we take a vote on this? Does anybody want to make a motion? You were playing.
Motion
Make a
to-
motion. Yeah, that,
For both of them?
can we take them both? in one? If we can.
I'd say we can, yes.
Okay, do you want a second? Okay, so this is just gonna be members of this committee who are voting. So, is there unanimous consent or is there anybody who feels
An
that
abstention.
they want to abstain or,
Unanimous consent.
All right,
okay?
motion passes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we have, with us tonight, Sabrina Lamb. I knew you worked, not, and Audrey Henry, who are from Harlem, from Harlem Coalition for Age and Place in Affordable Dignity, which has, which is going to present to us in favor of a letter of support that they've drafted for various legislative initiatives. Well, you guys take it from here.
The letter update?
Yeah, the letter is up there.
It's a draft.
And actually, before you start, the letter has a lot of acronyms.
Okay.
Kind of insider
Yeah, you.
stuff, but if you could, for everybody's benefit, explain
The email.
what the acronyms are in your programs that are being referred to. That was it.
Principal letter, I will send that to you with all those acronyms.
No, but I mean, even in this presentation, yeah, that would be great.
I can read it, but probably. Don't send it. It's reasonable.
Okay.
And we was also that basically they was. Yes, it's all, thank you. That's what. There's someone. Yeah, okay, this is.
So go ahead, Sabrina.
Good evening, everyone. Housing co-chair, David Ratner. And sorry.
Team.
And thank you. And members of the Housing Committee, board, and everyone here. My name is Sabrina Lamb. And I am Audrey Henry Phil, and we represent the Harlem Coalition for Age in Place and Affordable Dignity. Though we reside in an HDC co-op in CB11 in East Harlem, our issue aligns perfectly with those here in CB9, whether we live in NYCHA, rent stabilized, HDFC co-ops, or other limited equity and HDC regulated co-ops. Housing security is the number one issue we all face. According to the Columbia Spectator, Manhattan Community Board 9 has the highest concentration of HDFC co-ops here in New York City, with approximately 120 HDFCs within these boundaries covering Morningside Heights, Manhattanville, and Hamilton Heights. We're all part of the same fabric. Today, we're here to share with you or to talk about a property tax cliff that is threatening to tear a hole in that fabric by displacing thousands of our long-term neighbors. To understand this crisis, you have to meet our neighborhood. Ruth is 80 years old and has called her co-op home for over 2 decades. She's a retired New Yorker on a fixed income who did everything right. But now Ruth is terrified. Next year, her monthly property tax bill is set to jump from $14 to over $150. And within 5 years, that bill will nearly exceed $900 a month. And that does not include the increase of normal operating costs. That $900 a month is solely for tax purposes. For a senior on a fixed income, that isn't just a budget increase, it's an eviction notice. 47% of our residents are in Ruth's position. They have nowhere else to go. Ruth represents roughly 25,000 households citywide facing the same expiration of tax protections. Because the administrative deadline for a fix has already passed, Ruth's future now depends entirely on legislative action in Albany before June 10th. Our coalition is proud to stand in full support of the HDFC coalition and their efforts to protect affordable home ownership. And we're asking for CB9 to support our unified 4-track plan. The HDFC coalition was, I don't know when it was founded, but there was a lot of activity in March, January, February, March of last year. Their website is HDFC Coalition, and I'll talk about the kind of legislation that Assemblymember Taylor and Senator Jackson drafted as a result. So our coalition, even though our particular building is called an HDC, goes back to David's, what are all these acronyms there? Yeah. We think it should just be one. It's called home. But we joined their efforts. Home is home. So we're asking for support. And so what does that 4-track plan look like for us? Is repairing our buildings. This extends the J51 program, so buildings can afford essential repairs and green upgrades without passing crushing costs down to the residents in real time. What does that mean? For example, with our building, we had to absorb millions of dollars across, and we're not millionaires at all, across each resident to pay for upgrades, pay for faulty construction work as well. The Jackson-Taylor Act, which I referred to, and the right amendment, we are advocating for the Jackson-Taylor HDFC Self-Determination, Preservation, and Affordable Act, which was introduced early last year, and remains in committee, which makes tax exemptions permanent, as well as Councilmember Sean Brew. He introduced a resolution in the New York City Council supporting the state in this act as well. And we're also pleased to share that Assemblymember Jordan Wright said that he wants to be added as a co-sponsor to that bill and supports adding an amendment whose language will include our building, which is an HDC, to support the HDFC type buildings. So that no one is left behind. Oh, yeah, so, and then the age in place relief, so we're asking for a property tax cap based upon actual affordability and a tax freeze. We're not saying we don't want to pay property taxes, but a tax freeze for qualifying seniors and neighbors with disabilities, like Ruth, for example. I watched Mayor Mondami's press conference this afternoon introducing his new budget where he announced there will be no property tax increases, but I need to know okay, but what does that mean in English? And then still more work to do on the state level, and then holding developers accountable. So many Harlem owners were forced to absorb the cost of construction defects left behind by developers, having a approximately 6-year statute of limitations that you can even say anything or bring a lawsuit. And so expanding that to at least 15, 20 years. We want to hold, because they benefited financially, but we have to absorb the cost of just basic construction. So we want to hold these developers accountable so that the financial burden of their mistakes doesn't fall upon us, and particularly our seniors. And with our building, we're talking about who does all of this affect? 47%, like Ruth, have nowhere to go if this continues without anyone saying anything.
So I want to add to Ruth's story. I have a child. My husband died of brain cancer. My mom is 98 with dementia. So you heard of the sandwich generation? That's me, right? I have an 18-year-old on this side and a 98-year-old on this side, and I'm in the middle. And so having, I think about this every day because I need a place for the two of them. She'll be going to college, but I still have my mom. So I want to feel secure that I can afford to continue to pay for my apartment and have my mom live with me. Whether we live in NYCHA or a co-op, the thread is the same: the loss of our neighbors and the character of Harlem. We urge Community Board 9 to sign and transmit this letter to support us by May 14th. By standing with us, the HDFC, and it's after May 14th, but by standing with us, the HDFC Coalition and Assemblymember Wright are standing for the principle that Harlem is not for sale, and that every resident deserves to age in place with dignity. Thank you for listening to us, and if you have any questions, we're happy to answer that.
And let's have a recap on what the acronyms mean.
Yeah.
I can always assist you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and the HDFC is the Housing Development Fund Corporation. HDC is Housing Development Function. Now, despite the proximity in titles, it's very different. And HDFC is an actual building, it's a corporation, it's a co-op for low to mid income New York. HDC on the other hand is a lender. And what they lend, they provide the workers who are eligible for subsidized housing with the funds to make good on whatever maintenance payments or rent is required. So one is a residential building type, the other is a lender.
And we also are part of the APD, which is actually. Yeah, yes.
I have a question about that, because I get the impression, okay, that Sabrina lives in a new,
In the new building?
yeah.
Her building is,
So you
built in
both-
2004. Yes, I'm on 3, she's on 7.
Okay, so HDFC, so generally not buildings in my, that's my understanding.
No, that's,
But is that wrong?
no, that's.
No, they actually are buildings, but they're co-ops, not.
So I
She said they're not new buildings, but they can be.
They were formerly distressed buildings owned by the city.
Right.
They were
No,
renovated.
I get that, but is HTC the lender that makes these, are these Mitchell Llama?
No.
So there is a program where a developer can build a co-op building for for people who qualify, who,
Middle income
Middle income.
individuals.
okay, and that's financed by HDC, is that?
So it's financed by, for us, HTC and HBT. So
Okay.
like Sabrina said, we
Okay.
had to borrow, so we paid off our HDC loan by borrowing money that costs $3.73 per share for each shareholder. It's the millions of dollars, so we could pay the contractors. Otherwise, we would have to assess each person about $150 a share, and that can be $20,000 to $30,000, depending on the individual. So we're in debt.
Yeah.
You know,
I think one of the things that's usually important to remember about HDC buildings is that they're usually condos
Ours is
with
co-op.
income restrictions. So they can be co-op, they can also be condos, but they are built with public money, unlike HDFCs, which were formerly city-owned and sometimes renovated with public money. But they have the same income requirements or similar income requirements to those that HDFCs have. I think that their financing sources are different and their like legal structure is different and their physical structure is newer, but otherwise they are very similar. David, I would just like to say you came to the right place. The HDFC Coalition was founded in the 1990s out of CB9, and we have remained a very close organization, I guess you could say, with the coalition. We passed a resolution last year calling on the legislature to support the Al Taylor, Robert Jackson bill. And we actually did a lot with the J51 tax credit when it did expire during the pandemic. And then once they reauthorized it, I saw you had Braunstein on there, the sponsor. We then pushed the council to, adopt it because it has to be authorized by the legislature and adopted by the council. So we might incorporate references to those earlier resolutions into this letter, I would imagine. But
we would really want that, ask for that, because it's a coalition of all of us. We're not advocating for just one particular, named type legal structure, because it affects all of us. We would welcome that.
And I think the LLC shield piercing is great. I don't know if it'll work legally, but it needs to happen. My question though for you is about the property tax credits targeted to seniors and others. I think it was 0.3 in the letter. Can you talk a little bit about why, like the senior citizen homeowner exemption, like SCHE, or some of these other existing tax credits don't meet the need that you guys are seeing in your buildings and in our communities?
So what we understand is that they are not eligible until the tax abatement is over, and our tax abatement expires 20% each year, and it starts in July, and then it finishes 2031.
That makes sense.
If you had any conversation, anything like this, about this.
So I handed my little green folder
Yeah.
with all the to Mayor Mondami during the housing town hall meeting in Schaumburg a couple of weeks ago.
Great.
Spoke to Senator Clear and her legislative director, as well as council member Yusuf Salam. There was somebody else, of course, Assembly member Jordan Wright. Sent letters to Controller Levin, as well as who else? Oh, HPD Commissioner Levy. There's someone else that I missed. So that's
Great work. I'm more than happy to support as it is, but a word of advice to you and to us, to all of us,
Yes.
very generally speaking. When approaching issues that where the central issue at hand is the need to raise funds to sustain housing, or really any issue. A type of different approach that I and many would like to be seeing that's different is to have a conversation with electeds and start pressing them on ensuring that when there's a need to generate revenue, that doesn't come from pitting the middle class and lowering New Yorkers against one another.
Correct.
Part of why I took great umbrage with the idea of congestion pricing, which is, normally it is really that. Where whenever there's need, you pit low to mid income New Yorkers against one another, and you force them to somehow come up with a way to generate that, X amount of revenue that's needed.
Right.
I think a different approach should be taken, and if there's any administration that's been available to that, I think the Mondani administration should be it, where we talked about generating income by ensuring that those who invest among us are not only paying their fair share, but giving back. Paying their fair share doesn't only ensure that the funds that you pay go towards great schooling for your kids in the area.
That's right.
That means that you're funding housing, it means that you're investing in the subways, the bus routes, and everything that the city requires.
That's right.
And that's a conversation that I urge, as much, that I'm directing as much to my fellow community board members as I am to you and to all of our partners and stakeholders.
Received, like to add on to that, also spoke in 2023, so we're not just here, the expiration of June 30th, and we're just here.
Yeah.
Hey, no, we've been knocking on doors since 2023, spoke with Assembly Member Rosenthal, who's the chair of New York State Housing Committee, and have been, what's going on, hello, here's the update, and she said during that meeting, I really want to be your hero in this, and in every email, we remind her. We're waiting for the cake. Waiting for the cake to come in. So, yeah, we've been knocking on this door for.
Thank you as committee members.
Yeah.
And every member and as a HCSC.
And I emailed the HDSC coalition, maybe at Gmail website saying, hey, we would like to. So, just because I email doesn't mean someone responds, but you'll have our emails tonight. Okay.
All right, good question.
Well, I have a couple quick questions. The first one is a practical one. What's the timing for us? What?
Yesterday, but.
No problem.
But, we respect where you are in terms of your meeting and what you need to do in terms of going before the full board. And just knowing that June 10th is when the legislature ends.
Okay, so
Concludes
really,
for this session.
we're talking about knocking at this out of the May
Yeah.
meeting,
21st.
which means we have to get this put together tomorrow.
So exactly.
Yeah, for example. Okay. Now, I just, in terms of the wording of this, letters for, I noticed that there's, let's see. Well, we have stayed in the city to do, talking about J51 extension. But then, I'm sorry, the paragraph before you talked about 421A, the 421A is new construction, I believe, and J51 prepares to existing construction, but it looks like the bill, the Kavanaugh Brownstein bill, just deals with 851. Why is there a reference 421A? I guess mine.
Because many of the buildings, whether they're HDFC or HBC, are under that 421. It's a toxic word. Mayor Mondani did say during the town hall that the governor has introduced a J51 idea, a proposal that will address this because they're trying to stay away from the terminology 421A.
Well, didn't they get rid of 421?
It has expired, but that's why they want to bring it back, but call it something else. That's what they're talking about.
Okay, but I'm just confused about the two references. It says, facing expiration 421A abatements.
Which is what we have, so that 421A.
Right, but then the bill seems to only address
Right, that's why we asked,
J51.
that's why we asked the assembly member to amend it.
That's the short way.
Yes.
Mhm.
We want Tim to-
So should that be referenced in the,
Yes, I can up that, update that and send it back. But please know, this is all customizable to what you all agree on. but I will update that language tonight, and send it back.
Well, I don't know, it just seems to me that if we were redrafting it tomorrow, we would take out the reference to 421A.
Take it out.
Or add new languages, but we're gonna have to redrafting tomorrow.
You'll have it tonight in your inbox.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Andres, do you have a feeling on?
I actually was going to ask similar something about, the 0.3. I had thought, I'd wondered whether or not something like scree would be useful, but it sounds like, your residents aren't eligible for scree or similar.
I was thinking about it.
Yeah, they.
Great jury.
Yeah.
I think they aren't discreet, but there was another one they can't get until the abatement is finished, which is at 2031, 26.
Yeah, SCHE on base, senior
Yeah.
citizen homeowner exemption.
Exactly.
Can you get, is scree applicable to co-ops and condos or just rentals?
I think thought they were specific to rent stabilized units.
I
but I'm
thought
not-
it's- I thought
Yeah, I
it's
thought
rent
so
stable.
too, yeah, so it wouldn't have any application to.
Okay, and then the other question I had was about 0.4. How did you decide on the 15-year statute? It just seems like this is a sort of perennial issue and, at some point.
We're trying to figure out a duration by which, legislators would be comfortable with. Would we like it to be for eternity? Yes. Would they be
Yeah.
comfortable with
I
that?
don't,
Also based
there
on
aren't
the-
too many 15-year statute of limitations.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with this issue is that with these new buildings, you don't find out the defect for 5, 6, 7, 8.
10 years,
10 years.
that was. the
Yeah,
problem. That's-
Right, so 15 years actually sounds totally reasonable to
It
me.
does.
But
Yeah,
it's,
it's about 10 to 12 years, but.
this is a
that's
huge
to-
citywide issue, irrespective of, HDFCs or HACs.
And there are other issues regarding homeowners in New York State. We didn't add it because there's a long list.
Yeah, you can't put a
Right, so we
whole.
tried to narrow it down and what's affects here in New York City, but I will add, for example, if you do pay off the mortgage for your home. And then somehow you fall behind on your property taxes, New York State will seize your home.
Oh, sure.
And so this issue is driving the exodus of thousands of homeowners.
Yeah.
And it's just not really being articulated.
I say that these kinds of enactments are so important because if we're to the extent that we are very much concerned about gentrification issues in this community, we tend to be focused on building new housing when really probably the main focus has to be on preserving and upgrading people's housing and who are in place.
Everyone in that's what I said to the mayor. Great, build. Can we keep everyone in their homes that want to be there, no matter what the
And
type
this
of.
is very focused on that
Yes.
part of the equation, which is, I think, really great. I didn't read the entire statutes, by the way, but the summaries that I read, seem that they're like really
David?
important and well directed.
Yes, Barry?
Logistically, we're in a tough month because it's one of those months where the second Tuesday is followed immediately by the third Thursday, I think. Or I mean, the second Thursday. Oh, no, we're in a fine month. Never mind. But I was just gonna say, you might want to spell out the kind of high level amendments you want to see in this, and then have people vote tonight, and then see if you can have a decent draft of it for exec Thursday. Just so that exec can look at at least partially amended version.
Well, are there proposed amendments to this? I mean, do people have, well, first of all, do people have further questions? I had some I do have some drafting issues. It mostly, and this, um, this last, sentence that you put in there, I'm not sure that, weird swift action, and asks that this letter be transmitted to the governor and mayor, but it's directed to all those people. So was that sentence directed to CB9? I don't think it needs to be in this letter.
That's how we drafted it, customizable, so if you're not comfortable sending the letter, sending a copy to us, but also sending a letter to those individuals of your letter of support, then, just please adjust it.
Okay, but I would assume we're gonna be sending it to those elected.
Our office sends it to all of the electeds on the 2 and
Okay.
CC line
Right.
when we pass
And-
it.
And community
Oh,
board,
I see you're saying, it doesn't need to say we're sending it to, because.
Yeah.
Just send it to, got it, okay.
community board 9, Santorini Pride testimony, I don't, is that appropriate? What's appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, testimony, building level data and constituents, this, let me see. Victor, you see that?
Testimony and constituent stuff.
Where are
Maybe
you?
This is the last
The last
sentence.
sentence.
Committee Board 9 stands ready to provide testimony, building level data, and constituent witnesses. I would assume to Albany for.
I mean, we could do 2 of those things, which are the testimony and the data. I mean, we're not saying comprehensive building level data, but we can find example buildings certainly.
Yeah. So that could,
So we'll do 2, but not the third, not constituent witnesses, is that correct?
Just cross that out.
Okay. And yeah, I also had a question about piercing the corporate, the LLC. What does that look like? This is in paragraph 4, number 4.
Okay, what's the benefit of the LLC piercing?
I think that number one is exposure of hearsay is the way that I framed it, means exposure. Who actually owns the building? I understand it's an LLC, but if you have an LLC, it should be, John Jones owns this. So that we have exposure into who's actually owning the property or part owner of the property. And there's a lot of properties, particularly out in Brooklyn, that are grounded in an LLC. No one knows who's the person behind it.
Can we,
Yeah.
I think, reword that? Is that piercing or is that a question of piercing or is that a question of transparency?
Piercing, it's transparency.
I think it goes called the LLC Transparency Act.
But,
It's Emily Gallagher.
yeah, it is, but isn't
Yeah.
it, like, I'm not opposed to supporting LLC first, I was just wondering what that particularly.
Generally piercing, refers to, liability issues,
Yeah.
who you can sue.
Okay.
The whole purpose of the LLC is to shield,
Shield you from.
people, so it sounds to me like this is more exposure. Which
is good.
I guess, I mean, I don't. I haven't thought about it.
For example, if I'm a construction, a construction developer,
Right.
and I build faulty housing. And someone, a neighborhood doesn't like it or is harmed by it. I'll just appear under another LLC.
Well, I mean, what it needs to be tied to, I should say what it needs, but occurs to me that it might be tied to is what's called the Martin Act, which is the disclosures that are required for co-ops and condominiums. So, yeah, it's called the Martin Act. And so, if you have these exposures as to which developers are building faulty projects, having them be required to report that in subsequent, it's subsequent, let's say black folks. I'm like blanking on the word that I'm looking for.
Red herrings, David, red
Yeah,
herrings.
well, red area, black book, but it's their,
Perspective?
yeah, perspective, exactly, thank you, Barry, in subsequent prospectuses.
I've not read the word map. Is there any language in it that directs courts to, here's the corporate rule?
There are disclosure requirements within the Martin Act. It's administered by the Attorney General's Office, the Real Estate Department. And so they're required to say, you know, who's been involved, what other projects have been done by this developer. There are thousands of.
Yeah. I mean, the original purpose of the Martin Act was to prosecute securities fraud, right? And it
Right.
happens to be that co-ops and well, at least co-ops, I don't know about condos, are corporations and thus have shares, and thus you can have securities fraud if you are fraudulently doing things in the creation of a co-op. Because Cuomo used that a lot when he was AG for like, or Spitzer, I guess, used it a lot for when he was AG for like Wall Street stuff. But I think the piercing of the corporate veil, again, like I said, legally, I'm not sure how the law accomplishes that, but it needs to happen because you've seen in a number of these cases where buildings have sued their developers for construction defects, courts ultimately rule that the developers cannot be sued because you cannot pierce the LLC shield against liability.
Okay, that's kind of what I was talking about.
Well, you can under some circumstances.
In fraudulent.
Right.
Fraud, yeah, if you can prove fraud, you can do it.
Right. My suspicion is that what developers or how they try to get out of this or circumvent any such effort is to say, look, they were working with a certain limited budget. The contractor got a subcontractor, and then there was a subcontractor, and they were working in good faith with the kind of money that they had to work with. And then I don't see courts being, or issuing rulings that would in fact help pierce the corporate veil to then go on to them personally and say, well, you dissolve your LLC, but you're still liable. But one suggestion, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I mean,
One
for the
suggestion to the
lawsuit-
mayor's office, if I may just say. One suggestion is perhaps we need to have some sort of blacklist for developers that do this chronically under their personal names. So that even if you change from, John Doe LLC to Jane Doe LLC, the same person, the same entity still forget to repeat this over and over and over.
I think there are.
Do you have the name, because I'm looking up the name of the act, but I'm not finding it. Do you have the number?
No.
Or does anyone have the number? Was this a name? Is this just?
The Jordan model.
No, this is the construction.
Yeah, ACCA, sorry.
No, it doesn't.
These acts, Sabrina just created the acts, the name of the acts, those are not real acts. Okay, yeah.
No, but what is the, so this is not.
It's not that.
They're
Oh, this is not
proposing
double, this is
legislation.
proposed legislation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have you spoken about this number before with any of the electeds? The construction plot act,
Yes,
yeah, and.
waiting for the ocean to come back.
Okay, so you're not sure, but,
We've said what we've wanted.
okay. That was my other question.
Let's see, play. Yeah, why do you distinguish between Morningside Heights and West Harlem? Notice
Why do you distinguish?
your it's MCB9 representing Morningside Heights and West Harlem.
That's the area, the name of the areas in TV9.
Yeah, I think we're just west, I mean, Morningside.
Morningside, Sugarhill.
Yeah, some people just think.
So what's
We'd be doing that.
Morningside Heights is part of West Harlem.
Right.
West Harlem consists of the neighborhoods of Morningside Heights, Manhattanville, Hamilton Heights, and the
Right.
sub-district of Hamilton Heights known as Sugar Hill.
Right.
Yeah, so can we just eliminate Morningside Heights and say West Harlem?
Customizable.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll make it West Harlem.
Yeah. And then I thought the price is here not hypothetical. From 2026 through 2030, citywide, more than 1,100 limited equity and income restricted co-ops and condos, roughly blah, 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 face the expiration of 421. Abatements or earlier protection phase down. And then in MCB9, similarly situated buildings in West Harlem, include a number of which,
Yeah, I took out, David, since that, I
Yeah.
sent you that
yeah,
customizable letter, I'd like to just loop all into the language that we shared during the presentation. In terms of the number of affected, in terms of the highest concentration of co-ops in community CB9.
But
Or you
these-
should expand it to, without, naming specific addresses.
okay, but the numbers you gave were citywide numbers,
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
And I guess we met with our community board 11, they're drafting a letter of support as well, but they're focusing on CB11.
okay.
And the reason why we include it citywide, just to indicate or explain how wide the scale it is.
I have a question. So I'm on CB9, I'm on the road, but I live literally a block out of CB9 and CB10, like, which is on Bradhurst Avenue, and there's a number of co-ops. And I don't remember the name of it. I think it's in 80/20, right?
On Bradhurst?
Yes, so
Those are Mitchell Lama
no, they're not Mitchell.
They're not?
Oh, let me finish, I'm sorry. They are 80/20. They were lottery apartments, with lottery co-ops. And 20% were market rate. And so it's the majority of the building is affordable, confined by the affordability requirements. So the developer, horrible, there's so many horrible things, they made a mess, we have a sister building on, like, it's like between 148th and 149th is my building, and then between 147th and 146 is the sister building, it's called the, mine is the Ellington, and then the, my mind is blanking, but
Savoy?
not the Savoy, don't worry, I'm just like, my mind is freezing because I'm like on the spot, but anyway, the building next door is. The construction was so bad, they had to reskin the building because they didn't secure the parapet and the facade, right? So my building as well, not as bad, but so they were in litigation, we're in litigation. I was on the board of my building when we decided to enter into litigation because and now, because of COVID, the litigation has taken like almost 10 years because everything got pushed back. But we couldn't hold off anymore, so everybody had an assessment, so I have to pay an extra large amount, so I have to take a second job. Like, that's one of the reasons why I'm burnt out and I'm not gonna be on the community board anymore going forward, because I need a break, I'm exhausted. But, so that's in CB10, and there's those buildings, and then there's another building that used to be a school, and that's on between 148th and 147th, between Frederick Douglass and Adam Clayton. They came to the community board quite a few years ago, asking us, they're at CB10, but they were asking us also for a letter of support for same issue, because they were also suing the developer, different developer. But their developer, our developer has done a number of developments throughout the city during that time period, right around like 9 and, so the thing is, my question with that big spiel is, are you going to include CB10 or have you been planning, because there are a number of those co-ops. And
So they've been very responsive and in getting their schedule together to see when we can come and have the same conversation, exactly. I think about, and thank you for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think not enough of voices are being heard.
Yeah.
And buildings and residents of buildings are operating in silos and great really, and working two jobs. So there was there was another Harlem town hall produced by TV10. And Senator Clear was there, and there was a woman from one of the Bradhurst buildings. As she was sharing, it was like what we've been saying, what you just said.
Right, yeah.
All during that corridor, and if this continues, there's gonna be an exodus out of Harlem.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Right, but developments originally like HPD, they required you to be in the area for like 2 years. They changed it because the economy crashed during, at least during my building, so they opened it up to people from other neighborhoods, but you had to be a resident. I interned at HPD when I was like a teenager back in the 90s, when I was in college. And I knew about those developments, and the plan was to secure like, people who were maybe like lower middle class, like so you had a little bit more money from leaving Harlem, because a lot of people were leaving, a lot of them wanted to, well, that was one side of it. Then there was also developers, which we're not gonna talk, we already know where that's going, right, because we already went. But like, there was a group within HPD and watch what they wanted to do, was anchor that in, and now, like you said, we're all gonna, a lot of us native New Yorkers or people who've been here for a long time will be displaced because
I
oh, and our
don't
tax
think-
abatement's going away too.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
that's it.
But I say don't leave without a fight.
No,
So that if
definitely.
anyone leaves, say it's because we talked to so and so, but they did nothing, not because you just left.
Well, that's why we're in litigation, but this is a systematic thing, and that's why. Oh, and that's the other thing is that I don't know exactly, it's 80-20, but I should know this, and I don't know what it would be, what, if there's an acronym for this type of building, I have to look that up, it's not an HDMC.
The 80 building, the 80-20 building, that's what it's called.
Okay, so you're right, yeah.
No, I'm saying that's, just call it that.
Okay, yeah, I should look to see what program it's on.
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Together.
yes.
All the things that's transpiring among, the HUD district, are people getting together, are y'all trying to, work through conjunction with each other?
Well,
and that stuff,
As-
find out,
as one of
it's
your,
like you coming to the meetings here, community board 9, 10, 11, I mean.
I've already met with CB11 here at 9.
Right.
Have already heard back from 10. Thank you for one of your members who said we're in the right place. Everyone, my email address is Sabrina@MadisonPlaza@gmail.com, Sabrina@MadisonPlaza. And so when these letters go, it's representing all of us. I mean, we could have said, and it would not have been kind, that's the word, or equitable to walk around and say, support HDC building.
I mean, but there's individuals that are in the same situation.
But that's what I'm saying, it's all of us.
People bodies.
I emailed the website, on records that I have, I just gave your number, here my email address. Work together now, but that letter, that if you all vote to create that letter, you can start, that's working together.
You want to do that right now?
It's on.
It's on the. I have the brief.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. You want, we can do that right now?
Because it has to be an explanation for our legislature, why you not even introduce them. Or what bill are you going to introduce to keep us in our homes?
Yeah. Have you found any legislators who are willing to work with you with others?
Yeah.
Senator Clear's next is Director Chris.
And then we'll make.
So we have to take a vote.
Senator, Assemblymember Rosenthal's legislative director, Nicholas is
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we vote on?
slow to respond, even though she made some promises. Our similar member
Will
is.
you have the work?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh,
we're not represented at all.
So,
okay.
I think there's I mean, do people have other questions before we wrap this up?
Those bills that are still sitting. I mean, have there been any motion on this?
No. No. Are they to the website?
Is something representative of like? Basically,
We're gonna put it in
are they, do they sit on those committees or?
with the new revision and then we'll.
Who?
There is someone that Taylor's on the housing committee, I'm not sure, but I do do know that bill is still sitting in committee, and that was updated today.
I guess I just want to give a little pressure on the.
On the
On the
actual
chair.
chairperson.
Right.
Should we have to really take charge of this?
Linda Rose,
Yeah.
Oh, and.
she's the chair of the housing committee from New York State.
Yes.
So I think the general consensus is that we want to support this legislation, we want to support this effort. But that there are going to have to be some revisions. And Sabrina, you'll get us your revisions tonight. And we has volunteered to take charge of this, to put together a Google Doc for all the members of the committee to look at, work on, make suggestions. But we do need to get this, we're gonna need to get it to youth by when? Executive committee meeting is on Thursday. So,
Wednesday
Yeah,
evening.
Wednesday evening.
okay.
Good morning, David.
I'm sorry?
I'll need your action item by tomorrow.
What did you just say?
Yeah.
Oh, she wants the action item by tomorrow.
By when tomorrow?
You're speaking on your action items, or am I listening in and
Yeah,
getting it
what's
on?
the latest time they can get it to you? They have a lot of. editing to
Tomorrow.
do. Tomorrow, what time?
Afternoon, no later than 3 o'clock, because I'm working on the agenda now. If you could give me the titles, I could have it.
Oh. Okay,
How responsive should a Manhattan Borough president, should he be looped in? I don't know the answer to that. Does anyone know the answer to that?
I would say yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're doing community boards for sure.
Okay, I'm looking at the Senate's website, Housing Committee, Robert Jackson, he is on the Housing Committee. And I think Brian Kavanaugh, who I think is resigning or leaving off or something.
Yeah, it's an open.
See the chair, he's the chair of the House. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get out. Brand based on some of these.
Yeah, I can tell them tomorrow.
Oh, okay, okay.
So David, how many action items are coming out, committee? Three. Two are set, so just get those names and titles.
One is Michael, two are Michael, is that what you're
Right.
saying? Okay,
Michael.
okay, so, okay. I was
Just send
confused.
the titles of them to you, so you can put them on the
Okay.
agenda. And then you can follow up with the actual document itself. Third one as well, you could send the title of it,
Okay.
and then once you do the edits, we can get it done. The edits are coming to, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so you're gonna communicate with Sabrina?
I'm gonna email everyone's email that I in on that thread.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that.
Are you on that?
Okay.
Three is on the.
And then I'll send you the titles for the agenda.
Okay, terrific.
And if there are any other actions you think that we should do. Open the hearing, all ears,
Okay.
your point, all working together, all ears, whether it's visiting a legislator or whatever it is, just let me know.
Well, we all, I think, want to say thank you. This was a
Yeah.
really terrific presentation. Really important issues and thanks a lot for doing this.
Good presentation.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. So just before we go to the all business, one thing I forgot to mention before, and I'll also drop it in the chat. Folks who read it, if I can actually see the thing. Alright, so I just put it on the chat, so just for folks to have,
Just the. Oh, okay.
no, just a quick update, so just one thing circulating, I put it on the chat. One thing, I've been working on this every month, so this is different. But I wanted to centralize all the events and services, things that we get, like the community or things that are happening like through the city. And just having something like events and services related, I know Arnav worked on the organization side, so I like, there's no, there's no connection to any organization. But it's just events and services that are currently being offered throughout the month.
Right.
Absolutely. And you have, depending on the topic, you have housing authority, you have upcoming city council hearings, current events and services, either by electeds, by us, by the city. And for any events that are on there, you have QR codes. So even if you have a paper copy or if you have an online copy, you could access any of these things pretty easily. And that also includes when the next general meeting is for the community board, as well as when the next meeting is for our committee and the legal clinic that happens just right next door every month. So definitely share, definitely spread the word to anybody who might find this helpful, and definitely share with me anything that I should be adding. As we were talking about spree, I was like, that should be in here too.
Yeah.
So anything that we could do to make this something like that's helpful for community members and anybody who wants to do anything regarding housing, this is definitely gonna be super helpful, to get involved with those things.
Should put that up on the website there as well.
Yeah.
It's getting emailed too, right?
That was the last update I have. Looking at old business, do we have any updates on the Hamilton RKO? Yeah, the only thing that gives me any sort of indication is I think I saw part of Mamdani's plan is to reintroduce some sort of program for artist housing, which hopefully may have something helpful. That's like the only, but again, that's only whispers. I haven't heard anything concrete. Do we have any new legislation we're watching? Anything that's been recently introduced? Alright, are there any new developments that we should be watching? I keep adding. Anytime we bring up a building, I keep adding it to a list, just so that when budget season comes around, depending on whether we need to cite any of these, it's just helpful to have, so. If there are any developments we're watching or any sort of like upcoming projects we're looking at, definitely share. Do we have any till updates?
Looks like the development on Convent Avenue, about which there was a presentation at this committee meeting 2 or 3 months ago, has started to set up shop. It's 16 or 17 Convent Avenue, down by 128th Street. Houseman is the developer.
Yeah.
But they haven't broken ground or anything, so, looks like the road rules.
Right on.
That's the one we, okay, so that's not Tim, you were,
That was just.
That was Mr. Goodman who.
yeah. I'm sure he took all of our terrific suggestions.
Yeah, we'll process that. No, it'll be interesting to see once it does
Yeah.
pop up, to see how much they might have taken.
Just a really quick thing, because you mentioned artist housing.
Yes.
There was a bill that Michael Lasher worked on, at least last legislative session, that had to do with like building artists, like state funded artist housing.
That sounds great.
And I haven't heard about it this legislative session,
Yeah.
but I think Michael Lasher's talked about it. since running for Congress.
Too busy right now.
I think he's talked about it while running for Congress, but it might be, might just be working.
Yeah, no, definitely. That'll be helpful. Right on. Is there an update from the Morningside Heights Community Coalition?
I'm not sure, but tomorrow, there's from 6:30 to 7:30 at the Union Theological Seminary. There's going to be a seminar, community course on economic empowerment, which does not have anything to do with housing and land use, but that'll be with a really wonderful professor at NYU and some other folks. And then on June 13th, there's gonna be an all-day community forum, which I'll have more details. But yeah. that's
On what topic?
On the idea is that it will be like a sort of wide-ranging day of just like all the different issues affecting Morningside Heights, in particular. But obviously, we're gonna talk about housing and small businesses. I think those will be those sort of two thrusts.
Right on. Yeah, if you could share, just that we could, I don't know if there are like regular public meetings, but like anything that we could put on here that way we could also like let folks know.
The Just Action Committee meets once a month, and that's pretty open to folks that are interested.
Right on. Is it on their website? I don't know if they have a website.
It's not on their website now. But yeah, we can follow up.
No.
All right.
I'm just looking pensive.
Just to say that I don't see HDFCs under old business. I know that in the past they've been out there. The Attorney General's office announced, I think like 2 years ago, that they were going to use some of the funds that they had collected from predatory housing lawsuits across the city to provide HPD. Well, really to provide direct funding to HDFCs. Some of you have attended the committee for a long time and know about HDFCs, know that many HDFC board members, residents have gone to HPD to try to get them to enforce the terms of their regulatory agreements or to address some of the longstanding issues. You heard a bit of that in Sabrina's presentation, and HPD sort of unable, reluctant, doesn't follow through, and so what ends up happening is that the AG's office fields these complaints and so decided to use these funds that, you know, they had won unexpectedly in court to address some of these problems. Now, the announcement was made at like in the, penultimate year of Mayor Adams's administration, but the process is finally underway, and UHAB is now administering what's called the CTAP program, which I can't recall what the acronym stands for. But they're going to provide HDFCs with loans of up to $50,000, at least in this first round, at a very low interest rate. I think it's under 3%, and some of which will be forgiven. So for HDFCs, I don't know, replace a boiler or doing some sort of capital project. There's about I think it's almost $1 million. It's $50,000 alone. There's some money to go around. But it has to be sought at UAP and also Habitat for Humanity is administering the loans. It looks like the first round is going to go through in August. And fingers crossed, my HDFCs received some of the so it's been a long time coming. We've been hearing about these complaints to the Attorney General's office, and it's great that the Attorney General has decided to do this and that the program is sort of taking off.
Is there an online link that we can get? Because that would be a great thing to put in a newsletter as well.
I mean, so like my conversations with people you have, over the past week, they've just received the CTAP application from Habitat for Humanity. So I don't know if they have anything on it. Now, the announcement about this program beginning is definitely up. Just where to follow through that, has been sort of hashed
But
out.
even to have that,
Yeah,
that we can put
yeah, I
out.
can send that. I can absolutely
Yeah,
send that.
maybe if you could do that tonight so that that can be added to your
Oh, yeah.
candidates and then put online. So this could, I mean, people can regularly go to this and look for these kinds of
I
announcements.
like that.
What I think
Yeah,
the
really
way
good.
you have this administered
Thank you.
is they wanna ensure that the Attorney General's office continues to allocate some funding
Mhm.
toward this program every year.
But just to at least alert people that there is this program, it's coming into form and people on their own can pursue,
Yeah.
further.
No, that's helpful and it gives me a list of follow-up. Cause I have a knack of like finding weird stuff and on city websites or government websites that they try to hide. I never know if it's on purpose or whether that's just the way the city does stuff, but
It's called,
they don't make it easy depending on the program.
it's called the let's hide it from the teen agenda.
So we're not gonna vote, right?
Well, not on the third one, not
I'm
until.
gonna get ready to get out of here.
Yeah, you're good, cause that was the last.
Okay, all right, then never mind.
Yeah.
All right, great,
Stay tuned.
have a good evening.
Cool. All right.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good.
Good family, God bless you. Hope the best for you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. All right, do we have any additional updates, any additional business? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. We're adjourning at 8:21.
Whoa.
Yeah. Thank you all so very much for.
Yeah, thank you for coming, everyone.
First time you guys been through early or?
Yeah,
Well, no.
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
We're either on time or maybe a little bit later.
Yeah, or incredible.
Or very.
Or very.
Is there anything preliminarily that people want me to change about this